kind of war can decide the fate of an entire civilization? More than 2,000 years ago, two powerful states faced each other across the Mediterranean. Rome, a rising republic built on disciplined legions, and Carthage, a wealthy maritime empire that controlled vast trade routes. When these rivals finally collided, their struggle produced legendary battles and one of history's greatest commanders, Hannibal Barca. By the time the conflict ended, the balance of power in the ancient world had changed forever. Two powers on a collision course. In the 3rd century BCE, the Western Mediterranean was dominated by two expanding civilizations whose interests were slowly beginning to overlap. Rome had spent centuries consolidating control over the Italian peninsula. Through alliances, military victories, and careful political organization, the Roman Republic created a system capable of mobilizing vast armies when necessary. Roman legions were composed largely of citizen soldiers trained to fight in disciplined formations and adapt quickly on the battlefield. Across the sea stood Carthage, one of the richest and most influential cities of the ancient world. Founded centuries earlier by Phoenician settlers from the city of Tyre, Carthage had grown into a powerful commercial empire. Its merchants controlled trade throughout the Mediterranean, and its navy protected colonies across North Africa, Spain, Sardinia, Corsica, and the Balearic Islands. For many years, Rome and Carthage maintained peaceful relations and even signed treaties regulating trade and territorial influence. Yet, as both states expanded, conflict became increasingly likely. The island of Sicily, positioned between Italy and North Africa, became the key strategic prize that neither power was willing to ignore. The First Punic War begins. The rivalry erupted into open conflict in 264 BCE after a dispute in the Sicilian city of Messana drew both Rome and Carthage into the same struggle. What began as a local conflict quickly escalated into a full-scale war between the two powers. At the beginning of the First Punic War, Carthage held a major advantage because its navy dominated the Mediterranean, while Rome had little experience fighting naval battles. However, Rome had one crucial advantage: its ability to adapt. According to ancient historians, the Romans captured a Carthaginian warship that had run aground and used it as a model to build their own fleet. Roman engineers also created an innovative device known as the corvus, a boarding bridge that allowed Roman soldiers to board enemy ships and fight as if they were on land. Over the next 2 decades, the war spread across Sicily and the surrounding seas, draining both sides of manpower and resources. Eventually, in 241 BCE, Rome achieved a decisive victory at sea and forced Carthage to accept peace. Carthage withdrew from Sicily and paid a large financial indemnity to Rome. The war ended, but the rivalry between the two powers had only grown stronger. The rise of Hannibal. The years following the First Punic War were extremely difficult for Carthage. A revolt by unpaid mercenaries nearly destroyed the state, and Rome took advantage of Carthage's weakness by seizing the islands of Sardinia and Corsica. Despite these setbacks, Carthage still had leaders determined to rebuild its strength. One of these leaders was the Carthaginian general Hamilcar Barca. Instead of confronting Rome immediately, Hamilcar focused on expanding Carthaginian influence in the Iberian Peninsula, where valuable silver mines could finance Carthage's recovery. Gradually, he built a strong base in Spain and expanded Carthage's power in the region. During these campaigns, Hamilcar's young son Hannibal often accompanied him. Ancient sources claim Hannibal swore an oath as a child that he would remain an enemy of Rome for the rest of his life. Whether literal or symbolic, the story reflects the deep rivalry that shaped Hannibal's future. After Hamilcar's death, leadership of the Carthaginian forces in Spain eventually passed to Hannibal. By 221 BCE, he had become commander of a strong and experienced army, and the fragile peace between Rome and Carthage was coming to an end. A bold plan. Hannibal takes the war to Rome. Tensions erupted when Hannibal attacked the city of Saguntum, a Roman ally located in eastern Spain. Rome demanded that Carthage surrender Hannibal. When Carthage refused, the Roman Republic declared war in 218 BCE, beginning the Second Punic War. Instead of waiting for Roman forces to attack Spain, Hannibal made a bold decision. He would take the war directly into Italy. To achieve this, he marched his army northward across southern France and then attempted to cross the massive Alps mountains. The journey was extremely dangerous. Soldiers faced freezing temperatures, narrow mountain paths, and attacks from local tribes. Many men and animals were lost along the way. Yet, despite these hardships, Hannibal succeeded. When his army finally descended into northern Italy, the Romans were shocked. They had expected to fight the war in Spain, not on their own territory. Hannibal's stunning victories. Hannibal quickly demonstrated why he would become one of history's most famous commanders. In a series of early battles, Ticinus, Trebia, and Lake Trasimene, his army defeated Roman forces through superior tactics and strategic deception. Roman commanders struggled to understand Hannibal's battlefield methods. The greatest of these victories came in 216 BCE at the Battle of Cannae. There, Hannibal used one of the most famous tactical maneuvers in military history. As Roman soldiers pushed forward, Hannibal allowed the center of his army to slowly retreat. Meanwhile, his cavalry defeated Roman cavalry on both sides of the battlefield. Once the Roman army was fully engaged, Hannibal's forces closed in from the flanks, surrounding the Romans completely. The result was devastating. Tens of thousands of Roman soldiers were killed in a single day. Even today, the Battle of Cannae is studied in military academies as one of the greatest examples of battlefield strategy ever recorded. For a moment, it seemed possible that Rome itself might fall. Rome refuses to give up. Despite these catastrophic defeats, the Roman Republic refused to surrender. Instead, Roman leaders adopted a strategy that avoided direct confrontation with Hannibal. This approach, known as the Fabian strategy, focused on weakening Hannibal's army by cutting off supplies and attacking his allies rather than facing him in large battles. At the same time, Roman armies fought Carthaginian forces in Spain. Gradually, Roman commanders weakened Carthage's position there. One Roman general would soon change the course of the war: Publius Cornelius Scipio, later known as Scipio Africanus. Scipio believed the best way to defeat Hannibal was to attack Carthage itself. In 204 BCE, Roman forces crossed the Mediterranean and invaded North Africa, forcing Hannibal to leave Italy and return home. The final battle, Zama. In 202 BCE, Hannibal and Scipio finally faced each other at the Battle of Zama. Hannibal's army included war elephants and experienced soldiers, but Scipio had prepared carefully for the battle. Roman soldiers opened gaps in their formations, allowing the elephants to pass without breaking their lines. Meanwhile, Roman and Numidian cavalry defeated Carthaginian cavalry and attacked Hannibal's army from behind. Surrounded and outmaneuvered, the Carthaginian forces were defeated. For the first time in his career, Hannibal suffered a decisive loss, and Carthage soon sued for peace. Under the treaty, Carthage lost its overseas territories, surrendered its fleet, and was forbidden from declaring war without Rome's permission. Rome had now become the dominant power of the Western Mediterranean. The final destruction of Carthage. Although weakened, Carthage slowly recovered economically during the following decades. However, some Roman leaders believed the city remained a potential threat. The Roman senator Cato the Elder repeatedly argued that Carthage must be destroyed. In 149 BCE, Rome launched the Third Punic War. Roman armies surrounded the city of Carthage and began a long siege. After 3 years of resistance, Roman forces finally broke through the city's defenses in 146 BCE. Much of the city was burned, thousands were killed, and the surviving inhabitants were sold into slavery. After centuries of influence and power, Carthage ceased to exist. The legacy of the Punic Wars. The Punic Wars changed the course of Mediterranean history. With Carthage destroyed, Rome faced no serious rival in the Western Mediterranean. Over the following centuries, Roman power expanded across Europe, North Africa, and parts of the Middle East, eventually forming one of the largest empires in ancient history. The rivalry between Rome and Carthage remains one of history's most dramatic conflicts. It produced legendary commanders, innovative strategies, and battles that are still studied today. And although Carthage ultimately fell, the story of Hannibal Barca and the Punic Wars continues to fascinate historians more than 2,000 years later. The story of Rome and Carthage reminds us that history is often shaped by powerful rivalries and decisive battles. The Punic Wars did not just determine the fate of two civilizations, they changed the future of the entire Mediterranean world. If you enjoy exploring ancient history, legendary battles, and the rise and fall of great civilizations, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more documentaries that uncover the stories that shaped our world.